I'm excited to step into this role as interim president and CEO at this critical moment in time. The utility industry is confronting an increasingly dramatic news cycle that places energy supply and demand front and center. And even before the terrible war in Ukraine, every utility and energy CEO has been dealing with tremendous change and making tough long-term economic and environmental decisions. In some ways, this is nothing new to NYPA. We're well acquainted with the unexpected. Over the past decades, we've dealt with hurricanes, regional blackouts, oil shortages, and the aftermath of September 11th. And the good news is that we've learned from these periods in our history, and we're not doing it alone. We're working with many partners to build new infrastructure, nurture emerging technologies, and develop new relationships with our customers. And as we move ahead, I would emphasize that we're guided by two important game plans. Much of what we're doing in 2022 is rooted in Governor Kathy Hochul's nation-leading clean energy goals and by our multifaceted Vision 2030 strategic plan. While determining what will happen over the next decade is challenging, we strongly believe we have the necessary perspective and the right tools to transform New York's grid and combat climate change. I think we're seeing the right confluence of technologies maturing and new regulatory initiatives in New York to create a strong market for virtual power plants, or VPPs. VPPs turn the concept of traditional power generating plant on its head. Instead of a few large generators, every community, every neighborhood, and really any building can act as a power plant by controlling its supply and demand. As announced by Governor Hochul in her 2022 State of the State address, NYPA is embarking upon a cutting-edge VPP pilot program to design several virtual power plants. Our pilot programs will kickstart significant VPP deployment across New York, setting an example for the country. New York is truly one of the hardest places in the world to decarbonize. The majority of our renewable resources are upstate, and the majority of our load is downstate, on a very narrow corner of our state surrounded almost entirely by water. Additionally, we have one of the oldest grids in the world. So to get to a decarbonized grid, New York will require a significant investment in transmission, and NYPA is playing a leading role. In the next 2 years alone, we'll invest nearly $1 billion in transmission projects. Major projects include Smart Path Connect in northern New York, which will unbottle 1,000 megawatts of renewable generation. A related project called Smart Path is an 86-mile line upgrade to provide 900 megawatts of renewable energy statewide. Central East Energy Connect will address congestion and improve aging infrastructure with nearly 100 miles of line and terminal upgrades. And I'm also very excited about our Clean Path New York project, which we and our partners, Energy Re and Invenergy, have submitted to the New York Public Service Commission for approval. Clean Path will be one of the largest renewable energy infrastructure projects in New York's history. It will create more than 8,000 jobs and deliver 7.5 million megawatt hours in emission-free energy to New York City. When combined with New York's deployment of clean energy across the state, as well as offshore wind, these initiatives and projects are expected to reduce New York City's fossil fuel use for electricity by more than 80% in 2030. Transportation represents about 1/3 of New York's greenhouse gas emissions, so NYPA is eager to play a key role in driving decarbonization in this sector as we work toward net zero by 2050. Recently, Governor Kathy Hochul laid out her New Era for New York agenda, and electrified transportation is a key priority in that agenda. NYPA will play a key role in achieving her vision. Our transportation decarbonization efforts also include our Evolve New York program, which was launched in 2018 as a $250 million investment to build out EV chargers along key transportation corridors in our state. We also announced that the largest publicly accessible fast charging station for electric vehicles in the Northeast is now operational at JFK International Airport in Queens. Our Drive EV Downtown program brings Evolve New York fast chargers to downtown areas in New York State that are undergoing revitalization and development efforts. The benefits of transportation electrification need to be accessible to all New Yorkers, no matter where they live. The Drive EV Downtown program is making our downtowns across the state more accessible to EV drivers. And together with our transmission investments that will bring renewable power to load centers, NYPA is enabling clean electrification of New York State's transportation system. We must. Climate change is a global crisis, and we know that it requires both international attention and regional solutions. And by achieving New York's decarbonization goal of net zero by 2050, we'll play an important role in helping to avert the most damaging consequences of climate change. As New York completes this transition, we'll be a model for the rest of the U.S. and for the world. Our investments in transmission and offshore wind are already providing a roadmap for others to follow. This attitude is completely consistent with who we are and have always been. More than 60 years ago, we built the Niagara Power Project, our flagship hydropower plant, in less than 4 years. NYPA's 90-year legacy of achievement inspires us to become part of the answer to this far bigger challenge.